This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. All right, so in yesterday's session, so we were discussing about um, so how do we set up our images and all those particular pipelines, and we ran them. It went through, but yeah, so our application will not work as expected because of the databases. Okay, so we are in the process of making those particular databases up and running. So that's where okay, so we're writing the Terraform code for databases, just to say, and we're going to write the databases. And yesterday we started with MySQL. Okay, so I think RDS part, right? So yeah, so we started with RDS.ef, or in fact, let's, rather than RDS, let's put even more meaningful name. So I will just say as MySQL. So you're actually making MySQL. So actually, I mean, frankly talking about, so databases are not that much preferred to automate from the scratch. Okay, so from the scratch in the sense, like, every time, like an application, because the database is so critical, so it requires little consciousness from the people, so rather than doing a mistake through automation. So we have to be very careful in this particular area. So since our scope is more on the application side, so database side, okay, I'm just going and keeping everything. So don't think that in the real time you should be doing the same thing around the databases. No. So databases, there is a long work involved out there usually, and there will be some DBA people usually involved in that area, and that again depends. Okay, so if it is a very legacy organization, so they'll usually find out the DBAs, or if it is more so more software related, development related things, mostly devs can take care as well, and we can operate it. Okay, so if there is any issue kind of thing, or the options which usually come from the devs, and so we'll just operate them. Okay, so that's it, nothing more than that usually. And if any change also, we have to involve the devs, and or if any issues also, we have to involve the devs and understand what is the issue. So directly, I mean, if you have knowledge, you can go ahead and fix that, but still, okay, so it's a collaborative effort for me at least. Okay, so yeah, and also certain organizations, like it's a DevOps is a transformation role, right? So if it is a legacy organization, if it is a big project, so usually people try to put the people in this way. So they'll try to form a DevOps team, and one person comes from a sysadmin background, one person comes from release background, probably another person come from database background, so which actually whom actually transform to um, the DevOps side and know the DevOps tools kind of thing. So this kind of way they usually plan. The manager side, they usually plan while forming the team. Okay, but otherwise it's okay. Okay, so anyhow, database is not in our scope much for now, in this course at least. So I'm just making it with a minimal effort. Okay, I'm not going to put too much, but I want to make it up and running, but still I want to use Amazon services. Now, when it comes to the databases of MySQL, so we talked about is whenever we come to the databases of MySQL, we used RDS, and that's where they're providing database as a service. So we need to create a database group, subnet group, network group. So to which all the availability zones it has to sit, there is a uh, group you need to create for the list of subnet. I mean, you need to take the multiple availability zones, and you have to make sure your database up and running all the time. So that's where the DB subnet group is mandatory, and we created it. And also I talked about there is something called as parameter group. So parameter group is something that you need to pass some parameters to kind of load the configuration, is what I mentioned. So that's where the parameter group also you can do that. Okay, so parameter group, I'll just keep it empty as is. I will not go with anything. I will not go and do something. So I'll just give MySQL. If you have any parameters, you can give some parameters like this. So, but I don't have anything, so I will say it's MySQL 5.6 or 5.7, I would say, and I would say this is MySQL PG. Okay, so family I want to use is a 5.7 family. I think I'm using 5.7 all the time. Okay, so that's the one. Or if you don't know about that, so you probably refer the Amazon documentation that what are the families which are available. Okay, so that is another thing. Now you have the subnet group, you have the parameter group, so then you can go ahead and create the database cluster. So cluster is a group of servers it's going to create. It's going to create a group of servers. Okay, but I know minimum there has to be a minimum 2 servers, and you'll be you'll be running them basically. Okay, so but the cluster is a bit costlier service than okay, so cluster is a bit costlier service, and since I'm using a free tier, or we are actually a lab guys, okay, I don't want to really go with the cluster, and the same RDS actually supports the instance also, single instance is also possible. Okay, so I'll just go with the single instance and I'll make it, okay, rather than going with a cluster means they enable the clustering mode, so where you can run multiple nodes and your data will be synced and things like that. If it is an organization, we'll go with the cluster only, but since I am actually a normal lab one, so probably I'm just using this one. Okay, so or else I can go with this cluster. I mean, there is nothing wrong, I can go with this as well. Okay, so little cost. Okay, let's involve that. So this is I'll just say MySQL, and it's actually going to be MySQL hyphen dollar var.env. Okay, and engine. So engine actually is giving Aurora MySQL. So for MySQL 5.7, so they're telling Aurora MySQL. So Aurora is nothing but the customized version of Amazon MySQL. Okay, so that's where they are giving it as Aurora MySQL. But if you go for DB instance, you don't require that. It's going to be a direct one. Like let's say if you are going and using MySQL, so here engine is directly the 5.7. Use the direct 5.7. But since it is a cluster, so the Amazon actually so kind of give their own flavor of MySQL. MySQL is an open source. Okay, so like you have MariaDB. MariaDB is one flavor of MySQL, and so even Amazon has its own flavor, which is called as Aurora, which is actually a customized version of MySQL. Okay, so that's where I'm just using this. Okay, so I'm just following that, and the engine version is also the same thing. And the availability zones I don't want to give because I already gave the subnet group. So from the DB subnet group, so DB subnet group name. So what is the DB subnet group name? So AWS underscore subnet group dot MySQL dot name. Okay, and your database name. So your database name is so probably you need to create one database. And what is the database you wanted to create? So I can just check my RoboShop shipping. No. So I think ship.java. Yeah, so it is actually the shipping. No, this is cart URL, Sunday slash shipping. The codes. No, JP, I think. Yeah. So who is actually going to be MySQL DB host slash cities. Cities is the MySQL colon slash slash percentile S is the host name. MySQL, yeah, cities is the database. No, yeah, cities is the database name. Shipping is the username. Secret is the password it is using. Okay, so cities is the database I wanted to create. Okay, so I'll just go with MySQL. I'll just put cities. Okay, or else I just want to go for some default from the schema and default DB. And so I want to put the username and password. So the username and password, we are not liking to keep it inside hard coding inside the we're not interested to hard code inside the this code, right? So alternatively what we are doing, so we're actually using the service of secret manager, isn't it? go to the secrets manager, you already have Dave, and you just click on this one. You have these things, and you click on edit. Now add row, so which is MySQL MySQL underscore user and MySQL underscore password. The username is so the the username is admin, and the password is like, let's say, um, admin 987 or something like that. Okay, 9876. Okay, so some password, it's okay. So you can take a long list of, just complex password and keep it also, no problem. I'm mostly looking for eight character password. I think that's fine. So I want to use this now. How can you use this? So you have to go with so data, right? So you already know that. Okay, so how do I get the data? So you're already doing that in the AMI part. So you're actually taking the so this one, I go here, put it here. Okay, now how are you getting the password? So you just go to the instance.ef. This is how you are getting the okay. So, and it is telling that, backup retention period. So that means how many number of backups you want to keep it, and backup preferred window, or at what time you want to take the backup. Okay, this is the one. So DB subnet group you have given, and probably you created one parameter group. So I will just go with DB cluster parameter group name. So which is data dot, no, not data, right? So AWS underscore parameter group dot MySQL dot name. Okay. All right, so this is what I have, and I just want to run this, and I want to see that how it goes. In order to run this, you require VPC first of all. So I'll just go with VPC. Then Okay, so the VPC part is done. So now the database is depend upon VPC because it requires the VPC information. So yeah. Okay, it's a failure. One second. Sorry, one second. Okay, so the reason for the failure is master password. So the master password, okay, it is telling that MySQL underscore pass is not there. All right. So what did I give by the way? Oh, MySQL underscore password, full word I have given. Okay, that's fine. So rather than changing the code, I'll change this. I will just rerun it once again. So this, since there is a no code change, I can rerun once again. Again, it's a failure. Okay, now what? Now it is telling that a database name must begin with only alphanumeric character. So you should not give hyphens. All right, makes sense. default DB. One more release. Now again a problem. So DB parameter group not found. Okay, DB parameter group not found, which is a MySQL -pg. Why did I give -pg? Yeah, this is fine. And did not create the AWS DB parameter group, DB cluster parameter group. Okay, is there something else? Let me see. So yeah, RDS cluster parameter group is different and normal parameter group is different. Okay, so I need to go with RDS cluster parameter group, and here also I will just give nothing. It's just gonna be empty. Okay, so this, the parameters I'm not really need to modify anything. Okay, and Aurora 5.7 I'm using. So MySQL hyphen cluster hyphen pg, like let's say var.e vnv this one MySQL. Okay, so that's another change. Yeah, and also it will ask for the instance type. So you're launching the database and the database needs instance type. Okay, you didn't give any kind of instance type, so because it might pick up the default one, you know, and the charges are going to be a little bit higher. So rather than that, you can also choose, so what type of instances you can check it up. Okay, so here instance availability zones, deletion protection. Okay, so first after creating cluster, we need to create the instances once again. All right, that makes sense. So then in that particular case, I will just also go with the, instances also, this one, and which is MySQL. Now here, instance class is db dot r for large. So then I will go for t3 dot small or something like that. Okay, so it's too costly, so that's the reason. And actually go for MySQL. And here it is only one instance. I think one instance it will not work. Minimum there has to be two instances. I think. I'll try one. So then the next one is instance identifier is which is going to be MySQL hyphen var dot env. Okay, so Let's see. Okay, one also will work. Okay, in that particular case, this is fine. Okay, so let me push this code. And databases, good release. Those are from Benji and Benji. Aurora 5.7 is not a valid one. Hmm. What next? Now, what invalid parameter combination? The parameter group MySQL pgdev with parameter group family cannot be used for this instance. Use a parameter group with parameter group family of Aurora MySQL 5.7. Okay. Yeah, this is the right one. Or else we have to refer, just there is a links actually usually will be here. You can just refer them. So Aurora on Amazon or you can just go for Aurora or RDS cluster family. Okay, if you just start search with this, then you'll start getting the information from Amazon itself. Okay, what all the cluster, what all the things you have and things like that. You should start referring from here. Okay, so more if you look in, you will get the information. Family, probably family list. Yeah, or else the easiest way would be, yeah, this is the guy actually, I mean, the same Amazon is actually telling the example. So the easiest way would be you search for RDS. Okay, go there and just, click on the UI and, what all you want looking for, and just create one sample one. And from that also you can retrieve the information. Okay. So if you just go to the parameter groups, and if you say that create a parameter group, and so parameter group for which one, will show you that information. So Aurora MySQL 7 is there. So this is the parameter group family. Okay. Now the same thing I have given here. All right. And just come back here. So now it is getting created at least something. And after this particular database's creation is done, so we have to connect to the database and load the schema. So the same way, like however you had done earlier. Earlier you just used a single server and you did that, and now rather than that, you just you're just using the services in the backend. That's it. And also, while you load the schema, you will start seeing little problems. We'll see what is that. Okay. Usually it will take some 5 to 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes on an average easily to create these instances. So let's wait for them. Okay, cool. It's done. And I think you got it right. So we got the cluster up and running, I think. So I can just go to cancel. So you can see the parameter group created and I go to the databases. So you see that MySQL Dev is a cluster and inside that one machine it is running. And this is the one. Okay, all right. Now I need to connect to this. Okay, connect to this instance. So can I connect to this instance? Okay. So the answer would be no, can I connect to this instance? So the answer would be no. Why? Because you're running this in the Azure, you're running inside the Azure cloud. Okay, so that means you're using the pipelines, which are actually the Azure agents directly. Now, if I use Azure agents, okay, so Azure agents is somewhere in the public, but my MySQL database is somewhere in the my private VPC. Okay, I will not be able to connect. I'll not be able to connect. So then what I have to do here? Okay, so but I should need to connect to this as a part of pipeline. I want to connect to that and I want to load the schema also as a part of that. Okay, I don't want to go and do it manually. So how do I do that? Okay, So then I would probably prefer to go with my running my own agent. Okay, so if I go to the project settings, if I go to the agent pools, so I have only this. So now I will say that I want to add a pool. Okay, so a new pool, and it's a self-hosted, and I want to call it as D53. So DevOps 53. Just click on create. Now in the D53 pool, I want to add my own server. So I already have one server, which is my workstation, has a capability to connect to those network. Okay, so because we are doing a peering connection and doing that, right? And apart from this, so here actually we didn't create any kind of VPC security group ID. So we need to create one security group also. So security group allowing, so my network basically. So how do I do that? So security group creation. So allow MySQL, and so var.env allow hyphen MySQL hyphen Dave. This is the name I want to give. Just take this. And what are the ports? It's actually 3306 port number. So I'll just go with 3306 port number. Okay. So to whom you want to allow the access? So you want to allow the access to two people. So one is your internal network, and the other one is your workstation network also. So that's where I would say something on the ESG. There is a one. Yeah. So one is a VPC CIDR, and the other one is a default VPC CIDR. To do these guys, I want to allow MySQL. So now just I'll update this particular code, and also here I need to mention AWS security group dot this one dot ID. Okay. So you need to put the security group ID. Okay. So VPC, I think here it is not needed. Okay, all right. So now one more run on the Terraform side, so which will update the security group, because now it didn't ask for any security group, it didn't throw any error. I think it is using the default security group. If you just click on this, if you look into the security group, the instances, it went with the default one. Okay, automatically. Now I don't want default. I want to put my own one. So I will just move here. Places. So in the meantime, so what I wanted to mention here is my Azure is actually, I'm using an agent. I'm using an agent here. So Azure agent is actually the public internet one. Okay, so it's actually an internet and even the public one. So actually Azure is giving it. Now, now my VPC is in a closed network. Okay, so my VPC is in a closed network, and here I cannot reach here. Okay, but it is actually create the databases. I mean, it is able to create the databases at all, because so beneath the scene, to create these and all, you are using Amazon API, AWS API. You are using the AWS API over the Terraform. You are actually creating the resource. So this is possible, but actually you cannot connect to this. Okay, this is not possible, and that is where what I wanted to do is, so I have another VPC, which is a default VPC, where I have workstation. Okay, so workstation, and I'll tell to my Azure, and I will, I want to use this server as an agent. Okay, so this machine I will configure as an agent. So now as it is an agent, and I will choose to go with to the agent. Okay, I will choose to go to this particular agent, and so run the schema. So this actually connects to this particular so DB. So, and that's where it's possible. Okay, only for databases I want to use my own agent. Okay, so and that is needed. So here something is a failure. What's a failure? Is in a different VPC. Sorry. So now here you have to give VPC underscore ID is equal to um, VPC underscore ID is equal to this one. Okay, so let it run. In the meantime, so what I wanted to do is I just want to install my agent software. So first of all, let me go to the system. Okay, and I would like to have I would like to have um, yeah, an agent software installed over here. Okay, so how do I do that? So I have to go to the agent pool. I click on new agent. Okay, so the new agent, it is telling that you want to go with the Linux box. Just copy this particular URL, and I want to say that dir agent. So I'll go inside the agent. I'll download here. So call hyphen capital O and do this, and call hyphen L also. Yeah. All right. So tar hyphen xf vsts agent. Okay. So the step is this, do ls and sh run.sh. Okay. So sh run.sh, no, sh /config.sh. So config.sh. So you need to go with accept the license agreement. Yes. And where do you want to connect to the URL? So the current URL is your what we call um, I mean your Azure DevOps account basically. So this is your Azure DevOps account URL, and I want to connect to this. And so what is the authentication type you want to use? PAT. Yeah, PAT I want to use. And where is your token? So I need to bring my token. So where do I get my token? So here, if I go there, here, personal access token, and I'll just go for new token, and this token is a D53 agent token. Okay, so agent token I would like to take for 90 days, and which one you have to do is a deployment. Something is a deployment groups. So just need to use this. That's it. Create it, and you get it. Take this and put it here. So the agent pool which you want to choose is a D53 is a pool I created. I want to put there. So this is my workstation. Okay, I will just mention that. Okay, so you just want to add, and do you want to perform an unzip for each and every task? I think no default options are just using, and that's it. All right, so this is what you have, and you're done with this. So, and then I will go for sudo, yes, sudo dot slash svc dot sh and enter. So it's actually telling you need to install this as a service so that it starts at the time of, so at the time of, so starting the server automatically. So start. So I just give this, and yeah, this is fine. Okay, so this has a service started. So now if you go to the Azure DevOps agent pool, and you click on agents here, workstation is online. Now, from now on, the jobs actually, whatever I'm going to mention, so I'll just go for edit pipeline, and I will say that here, the agent actually has to be no more Azure pipeline for this, only for databases. This is D53 pool. Okay, that's it. So it will just pick one of the agent from that D53. So our agent is it's already been configured, and it will pull it up. Okay, so now this guy, this guy should be able to connect to the database. Okay, so mysql command is not there, so just use sudo yum install mysql. It's the client we are installing, it's not the server, it's the client I'm installing. Okay, so now after connecting to the client, so first I wanted to do is I need the endpoint. Okay, so this is the endpoint, and probably if it is in the cluster level, so you can just give this cluster endpoint actually. Telnet, this one 3306. I'm able to connect. Okay, so now MySQL hyphen host, this one hyphen u admin and hyphen password. What is the password? Admin 986. Okay, you see this, you're able to connect this workstation, able to connect. Okay, so show databases, I think we already created one default db, something like that. Okay, it's not really needed. I want to load the schema into this, and how do I load the schema? Okay, so let me tell to the pipeline, so hey, you load the schema like this. So then I'm going to say that I just want to go to releases, databases, and I'll say edit, and I'll go for adding the schema, so which is from Azure repos, just D53, and MySQL. In this MySQL, you have the schema file. Okay, and I will say master and underscore, underscore MySQL or MySQL underscore schema. Just add that. Okay, you got the schema, and you go inside this, and I would like to add one more task. So which I want to say here is a bash one, and just go for my SQL schema. Okay, and I'll go for inline. And what is the thing I wanted to do is MySQL. Okay, so but I need to have the endpoint where I need to connect, right? I think this is also not needed actually. Talking, this is not really needed. Okay, so I will just go here, and I'll put the schema also as a part of Terraform. Okay, so then I'll just go for resource, null underscore resource. I mean MySQL hyphen schema, and so here the provisioner I want to go with is local exec. Just I want to execute locally, and so here inline command. So command is equal to and EYF DYF. Okay, so here I want to I want to give the command. So git space clone. So what is the repository I want to clone? So I will just say here I'll go to repos. MySQL just cdrs-mysql and then cdrs mysql and go to mysql hyphen host. You need to know the endpoint, right? So now you have to go with aws underscore rds cluster dot mysql dot DNS is not there. Endpoint. Okay, but I don't know what is the endpoint outcome is going to be. Let's take a look here. Endpoint. In the attributes, the DNS address of the instance, but may not be writable. It is telling. Yeah, so this is fine. So endpoint is okay, and hyphen u the username. So the username is again you have it here, right? So the same thing. You can give without space, and then hyphen password. What is the password? So here is the password. Okay, and the load that one. So which is the file name is? The file name is student shipping.sql, not student shipping.sql. All right. So this is the one I wanted to give. My username, my password, and load the shipping.sql file. It just loads it. It just loads it. Okay. So now let's try to see this. So it is just trying to execute this command. Cool. Okay, so now let me go and cross check. So just the same thing, and show databases. It should have created cities. Okay, so use cities, and then now show tables. So cities table and codes is also created. Yeah, perfect. So your MySQL, the whole setup is done. So what is the next one? So the next one is going to be is you know I already mentioned. So that document MongoDB cannot be used. MongoDB is going to be a an instance only. You cannot do much more on that. So it is tf or redis.tf now. So I would like to go with the redis again. What I mentioned, so we have a service available, so which is elastic cache. So elastic cache you have, and I'll just use this, and elastic cache cluster you have. So here also the same thing, you have a subnet group created for this. So then yeah, so then I will just go and use the subnet group of MySQL, the same thing here, which is redis. And it is actually not that resource, it's actually this one. Okay, this one, and reduce db subnet group, and this is the file. Okay, so the next one, so here also you require the parameter group, and the parameter group is still again I also don't know, so let's refer from the UI. So ls t a parameter group. So there is already some parameter groups which is available. Now we are using the Redis, I think 5.0 version all the time. Okay, so the Redis 5.0 I would like to use, and here. And here, and the family is Redis 5.0. Redis 5.0 family is there, and it is actually going to be Redis hyphen parameter group hyphen var.env. Okay, so you created the parameter group. So finally the last thing we have to do is a cluster creation. Okay, so the security group also should be created. So elastic cache security group. So this elastic cache security group can be a normal security group is also fine, right? So security group is a security group. So here I'll just go with the MySQL, this one. So the same way I will just create a security group for Redis. Redis, and port number Redis port 6379. Okay, let's come back here now, and I will just use a cluster. So I want to go with the Redis instance. Okay, I'm going with very small instances just to avoid the cost. Number of cache nodes is only one, and the parameter group is AWS underscore elastic cache parameter group dot this one dot name. Okay, engine version. Engine version is, we go to the engine version, describe engine cache versions. Okay, so here you got Redis 5.0.5 is there. Port number is anyhow 6379. And one more thing, DB, so subnet group name, AWS underscore elastic subnet group dot redis dot name. Okay, so all right, I think this is fine to start with. And Redis doesn't have any kind of a schema, just a this one. So since it is not having schema, so there is no point of connecting to this default VPCs area. This is also fine. Okay. So this much is okay. So let's push this and run, and I will see how it goes. Okay, it's a failure. Okay, tag section is not available for this guy. Okay, and even at least subnet IDs, yeah, subnet IDs is there. So the Redis is getting created. So the other one in the meantime, so the next one is going to be is like let's say RabbitMQ. Okay, so RabbitMQ also the recently the service came out, so which is RabbitMQ. So I'm not sure it supports Terraform because it's just been recently supported by Amazon. Okay, the Terraform will take time to import that into that one. So it is not there. So that's where I would choose to go with I would choose to go with an instance for my Mongo and for my RabbitMQ both. Okay, so mongo.tf. So I'll be using an instance here. So, and what is the instance is? So how do I create the instance? So it's a standalone instance. I want to make it. I will just go for resource AWS underscore instance, and so here I wanted to go with Mongo. Okay, so and the AMI. So the AMI you need to get it. So the AMI you are going to get it by using AMI. So this is the one you wanted to use, and here use this, and which becomes like data dot AWS underscore AMI dot ID. Okay, the instance type. So just put like T3 small. Okay, and so you need to open one security group. So the security group is going to be this allow Mongo port number 27017 and so it should open to both the VPCs because we need to load the schema, so which is Mongo. Okay, so here it becomes like VPC underscore security group IDC is AWS underscore security group dot allow dot mongo dot ID. Okay, so and then what next? Security group you are giving key pair, so probably key underscore name is equal to, I think we have DevOps. I'm just using it. All right, or else you can use the direct username and password, you know that, right? Anyhow, that's fine. Now after the instance creation, so then what I have to do, I have to go with null underscore resource, so mongo hyphen schema, which is a provisioner, is actually going to be as a provisioner is remote hyphen exec, and inline is equal to the list of commands. Okay, so you'll be providing them, and before to that you require the connection. So connection is, or I think all these parameters are already somewhere given. I can just copy them. I think over AMI, so instance.df. So connection also. Okay, so instance is AWS underscore Mongo dot private underscore IP. Now here, this guy actually needs an asset connection also, right? These guys need 22 connection also. Okay, so and he has to have one subnet ID. So where he has to launch is in the private subnet. So that's where subnet underscore ID. So you're going to give the subnet underscore ID. So how do you give the subnet ID? So just by going to MySQL private subnets. We're going to take the private subnets, and I am going to give that, so one of the subnets, so which is of 0, you are going to give. Okay, on one subnet is going to launch. All right, so then 22.2707 port 1 open, it opens the private connection. Yeah, and install Ansible, and yeah, so software. So here what you need to give is so where dot component is variable component. Okay, so variable no, I don't want to give the component here, since it is, I know that it's a Mongo, so I want to hard code it. Okay, so artifact version is really not needed, so you can ignore them for this. So pat is needed, you're just giving the pat. Okay, also hyphen tag also I'll go for Mongo. Okay, so this is what I wanted to do for my setup of my Mongo. Okay, let's see how it is working. Now wherever my other one, so this work fine. Okay, so Redis. And once again, let's wait how Mongo is actually behaving. Cool. And so that means the MongoDB is running. So probably I'll just take a look here. Yeah, so something is running. So we need to put some tag here. Telnet 27017. So it's working fine. So we were able to hit also. And so then the last one which leads here is the RabbitMQ. The RabbitMQ also it's same thing. So tag is equal to Mongo hyphen where env. RabbitMQ.tf. Now RabbitMQ.tf, it's gonna be RabbitMQ. It's gonna be RabbitMQ, RabbitMQ. Okay. So it's gonna be RabbitMQ. It's gonna be RabbitMQ. It's gonna be okay. RabbitMQ default port which is 5672. Okay, so I'm going to use that. All right, 22 port is open. So here also I'll say RabbitMQ. Okay, and finally here I'm going to say that everything is same. RabbitMQ. Okay, so this much is fine, and actually it's gonna be hyphen schema allow hyphen RabbitMQ, and it's actually RabbitMQ. That's it. So let's run them. So once this is done, so then the next thing is going to be is so we need to verify our whole application. So probably tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to verify the whole application. So connecting to this our other component application components, we will point to this and make sure it works. Okay. So telnet this one, and whatever is the IP address. So what is the IP address of this new instance? RabbitMQ dev. So connection refused. All right. So it might be still running. Okay, it completed 5672. 5672. Okay, so PS-EF I prefer RabbitMQ. It's not running. So systemctl status RabbitMQ. It's not there. RPM-QA prefer Rabbit. At least the packages were installed. No. Okay. So now what happened really? Then so it actually doing something. Install RabbitMQ, it's changed. It is telling start RabbitMQ also. It is changed. It is telling why? Because on the old instance only I did it. Okay, that's my bad. So tomorrow we'll forget. We'll fix it. See this. It's actually you're for RabbitMQ also. You're actually connecting to Mongo server and do that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, today we fixed it. So tomorrow we will. Okay, so rerun anyhow, and it will work as expected. That's the scope. And there is some enhancement which is needed. So why it is needed? So we'll talk about that in tomorrow's session. So tomorrow we'll try to so run the whole pipeline, and we will set up every component, and yeah, so we'll see how it goes. So we need to ensure our application is working fine. Okay, so that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. I think that's all from my side for today. Any questions? Okay, all right, no questions. We'll meet in tomorrow's session and we'll continue the remaining part. Okay, thank you. See you. Bye.